bit further. So if you can imagine, if you're having these recurring dreams, to be able to actually confront, maybe this archetype that's been pestering you for years, maybe stand up to it with the full sort of knowledge and sort of security that this thing ultimately can't harm you. It's just a dream state. It's just a fantasy overlay. And eventually you're going to wake up. So to be able to stand there and face it, and maybe ask it a question, you'll be very surprised, no matter how frightening the dream may seem. If you ask maybe the main protagonist, just stop and ask it a question. What do you represent? You could be very, very surprised with suddenly how this thing might suddenly shrink in size or stature or menacing nature, and maybe have some sort of Cockney London voice. Oh, I don't know, mate. And that's more Australian, I think. But it really is quite amazing how things can morph very quickly with you just having a little bit more sort of courage to sort of ask questions and probe these different dream states. I'll never forget, one of the first times I really knew it was about asking questions, and it was in an out-of-body experience. And I had been unceremoniously sort of taken through this tunnel of light by these two beings I don't think I'd met before up to that time. And they kind of chucked me out the other side. And I was in this very rural environment that reminded me of my upbringing in America, and it was like the Midwest. And I was kind of floating down this country lane, and I was like, I wonder where I'm at. I said, where am I? Just asking this question myself, and suddenly this booming voice, and the whole environment just goes, Iowa. I was like, oh, thank you, Iowa. I'm in Iowa, great. And so asking questions of different things. I had a lucid dreaming student of mine a couple weeks ago. He said, I got out of body, it was amazing, and I've got this door on my back, and it was really laborious to get around, but I had this door I had to carry around. I said, why didn't you just ask what the purpose of the door was? Once you become conscious enough, ask questions. What does this door serve? What's the purpose of this door? And in a lot of cases, the dream state will morph, or the door will vanish, and it'll take you to a new place. And it's quite dynamic stuff. So if you want to sort of get more sort of to grips with any sort of bad dreams, excellent for that sort of thing. Creative problem solving. We've probably all gone to bed at night with an idea in mind, something that we're struggling with in our daily lives. And we wake up in the morning, this is like our last conscious thought as we're going to sleep, and then we wake up in the morning with a little bit of clarity. And this is because subconsciously, and even consciously on some level of your being, you're working through this stuff in dream states and through the out-of-body sort of state of consciousness. So for problem solving, it's another wonderful benefit. For entertainment purposes, for traveling anywhere in the known universe and the unknown universe, there's no limitation. The only limitation is your own imagination, and that is it. Use it for extreme sports. Maybe if you're not physically fit enough to do extreme sports, but some of it looks fun. Maybe take in your dream state, you create Mount Fuji, render that, and then suddenly you're racing a bicycle down Mount Fuji. Who cares? 200-300 miles per hour. Fall down and hurt yourself. Once you wake up, you'll have no sort of remnants of any sort of broken bones. It's all good stuff. So it's a very safe thing to explore in your dream state. Develop new ideas and inventions, then watch and use them in full 3D. Can you imagine having your own unlimited research and development department in your mind? It's really powerful stuff. And we'll talk about how you can actually render stuff. Where does the rendering occur? What's the inspiration? Where's it drawn from? Safely overcome fears and phobias. Maybe you have a fear of heights or flying. Excellent opportunity. Maybe you become lucid within a dream. You're conscious. And here you are in the middle of a field, which is lovely to become conscious anywhere within a dream. Doesn't matter what the environment. But maybe you think to yourself, I'm going to use this opportunity. So you think about something like Heathrow International Airport, and suddenly it starts to render, the scenery starts to render around you. It's that thought responsive depending on the state of consciousness that you're experiencing. And here you are, maybe you've rendered a 747 and you're sitting on the runway, and you kind of give a nod to the pilot and say, right, let's go, and he starts thundering down the runway. And then maybe the fear and the anxiety sets in. You think, no, I've had enough. And you just kind of lay back, and there's a couple of techniques you can use to end the dream. You're in charge. It's up to you. These things are entirely possible. It takes effort to reach that level of sort of ability within these dream states, but it is entirely possible. Test solutions in personal problems. Practice asking. Maybe you're more of an introverted type. Maybe you want to ask for a raise, but your boss terrifies you. Recreate your office environment within your dream space. Recreate all the characters. Practice asking with your boss. Cool thing is, though, be prepared for some real autonomy with these dream characters. It's quite incredible. You might think to yourself, is that really an aspect of my unconsciousness, being that belligerent? But the thing is that a lot of lucid dreamers and out-of-body explorers kind of get to a point, is this grayness that exists between these two states of consciousness. And we're going to heavily explore that, because it's very important for you to understand the difference between a dream state and the out-of-body state. Again, so you never at any point feel that you're kidding yourself, because there's always going to be plenty of people in your life telling you that you're experiencing psychosis, that you're just a lunatic, that you need to wake up and smell the roses. This is a personal journey. Science can't come in and rubbish this. They can try, but this is for them to have their own personal journey someday. And this is the same for you. This is an inward exploration, and you can't take physical tools with you. Although it has been, lucid dreaming itself has been completely validated by science. Science dream lab studies have been going on since the 70s, and they've beyond a doubt confirmed that people do become lucid within the dream state, and they even have a mechanism within the dream lab studies for the actual dreamer, once they become conscious within their dream, to signal to the scientist that they're now conscious within a dream. You're like, how is that possible? They hook you up to these EEG machines, very sophisticated machines they're using these days, and one of the muscles that is not in paralysis during sleep are the eye muscles, and this is why we have REM sleep, where we have rapid eye movement. And if the dreamer becomes conscious within the dream, within these dream lab studies, all they have to do is turn their head within the dream side to side a few times like this, and that will create a certain sort of movement which will be registered on the graph, and the scientists will now know that the dreamer is actually conscious at that moment within a dream. And it's quite powerful to be able to do that, because then science can start to validate things like remote viewing, which is a form of clairvoyance, which is steeped in scientific protocol. You can then use something which, these experiments have been performed before, where you have a sort of computer locked down in another room, which then will, by a push of a button from a control room, will trigger from a database of maybe 2,000 images. A particular image will randomly appear on the screen, and then the person who's lucid in the dream will then be asked to actually move through walls and get to that room and see if they can actually pinpoint what's on that screen. So there is ways for science to validate this. In most cases, you won't see it in the public eye. These public scientists have reputations to sort of uphold, whereas these scientists who are working behind the scenes, in most cases, they're paying very good money by governments, and they can take research much deeper than they can in the public eye. But there does seem to be a lot of stuff, funds made available for sort of rubbishing this sort of stuff. There was something just recently in one of the newspapers here in London, where this Swiss scientist determines with his virtual reality sort of software and technology that we're just kind of kidding ourselves about the out-of-body state. But I challenge this guy to come to a workshop like mine and actually use these tools and validate it for himself, instead of just always there ready to sort of put a pin in this particular balloon. This is something you can validate. Develop new skills and talents. Maybe you've always wanted to play the piano, and or have some other musical talent, or want to be a creative type, an artist. You can explore these again within that sort of state. You can create your own studio, and then call in great sort of mentors, if you like. If you want to play the piano, maybe something like Bach or Beethoven. You might think, well, again, how is that possible to? Maybe I can render that personality, but how do I draw the genius of that personality in? And we'll discuss that. This is some of the grayness that exists between the different states of lucid dreaming and the out-of-body state. So we'll go deep on that. So that's some of the benefits. There's perhaps hundreds, if not thousands, of different benefits, and you'll, through your own research, be able to discover other ways to apply this. Sports personalities all the time are now using lucid dreaming to perfect golf swings, to become better runners on the track. For people like Michael Schumacher, to be able to sort of test new technologies in that sort of lucid dreaming state. This is definitely something that's getting a lot of credibility, because science has actually validated the lucid dreaming state. Okay, before you can have a lucid dream, you have to be able to recall your dreams. So for those of you ready to take notes, we're going to go through the dream recall techniques. Every night we have cycles of sleep. A sleep cycle is 90 minutes in duration. So every 90 minutes you go through, in the first sleep cycle, it's predominantly what's called non-REM sleep, and in most cases you'll not actually have any sort of dream recall or very few dreams within that sort of level of consciousness. When you hit REM sleep, this is where you have the rapid eye movement. This is where you're actually dreaming. This is where you're starting to dream. And this is where we want to focus. But in those very first few dream cycles, that first one in particular, that 90-minute dream cycle, only 10 minutes of it, on the very back end of it, from the 80-minute mark, or even the 85-minute mark, you're only getting about 5 or 10 minutes of the actual dream state. So we don't want to focus so much on those early dream cycles, sleep cycles. We want to focus on the latter ones. Once you hit the 4.5-hour mark, which is 3 dream cycles, that's 3 90-minute cycles, you start to get to around 20 to 30 minutes worth of actual REM sleep, so 20 to 30 minutes of dreaming. So that's the point we want to start focusing on, being able to record our dreams. So what I'd like to recommend for the first 2 weeks, so when you go home tonight, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to set a series of alarms. The first alarm I'd like you to set for 4.5 hours. So when you get into bed, set that first alarm to wake you up after 4.5 hours of sleep.
Do you ever find that you just automatically wake up?
When you automatically wake up, we'll discuss that as well, and that's very good to have these sort of natural awakenings. But we'll get to that. So first alarm, 4.5 hours. When the alarm goes off, switch it off. I want you to then roll back into the exact same position you woke from. This is very important because through association you'll be able to remember the dream that you were just having, and you should have been having a dream because you're now waking yourself at the very near end of an actual REM cycle. So I want you to roll back into that same position you woke from. I want you to just allow any sort of fragments or full-on images of dreams to come to you. Then once you've impressed that onto your mind, I want you to pick up a pad of paper that you have on your nightstand and a pen, and I want you to just quickly bullet point the actual dream. So any dream characters, the environment, how you felt, so in any way how you felt about that dream, any of your emotional sort of states. And then put the pad of paper down, put the pen down, and I want you to then reset your alarm for another 90 minutes. Now, at that point you just go back to sleep. 90 minutes later, wake up, switch off the alarm, roll back into the position you woke from, and do exactly the same thing. Record any sort of dream activity, and then reset your alarm for another 90 minutes. And throughout the rest of the night, until you wake up, this is the pattern you're going to use. This is only going to be for 2 weeks. So for those of you who are already sort of thinking, this is going to disrupt my sort of sleep pattern, my beauty sleep, don't worry about it. It's fine. A couple of weeks, isn't really going to impact you very much. Now, if you want to get to a point of even impacting it even less, then you can use something like a voice recorder. Most mobile phones have a voice recorder built into them. So impress the dream on your mind, then when you're ready, pick up the voice recorder and dictate it into the device. But one thing you have to be mindful of is the absolute gobbledygook that you can sort of do into a voice recorder. I can't tell you how many times I woke up in the morning and I'm listening to myself going, dog, and is my leg, and because the problem is you're not engaged as much. You're just with the pad and paper, it's a better routine and it gets you more consciously aware. Whereas a dictator, I'm telling you, several times I've woken up and thinking to myself, I've probably recorded 3 dreams, and I've recorded 4 or 5, and I don't even remember doing that one. And so it is a matter of raising your conscious awareness that little bit more. And like I said, you're only doing this for a few weeks, and this is to really kickstart the dream recall in a fantastic way. If you employ this technique, starting from tonight or tomorrow night, whatever feels right for you, within less than a week, you should be at the level of at least recording 5 dreams every single morning. And in the morning time, what I'd like you to do when you have a chance is to go out somewhere in London and buy yourself a really nice big, maybe a leather-bound big journal, something really nice that you feel really good about, really sort of, it makes you feel happy when you look at it. And when you're done recording stuff throughout the night on the notepad, sometime throughout the day, just with that little bit of bullet points note-taking in the night, you'll be able to flesh out the fuller dream, and I would then do that in a journal, a proper journal. Record the date, record the dream in its fullest, and how it made you feel. But what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't record every dream. I'd only record the ones that maybe you really connect with most, the ones where there's a lot of content, maybe you feel there's a message there. And we'll talk about messages from non-physical sort of sources.